Dear learners, welcome to Arprit program on Library Information Science at IIT Delhi. Today we are going to discuss on a very interesting topic called Big Data and Data Visualization. Before we start, let me introduce myself. I am Dr. Shantanu Ganguly. I am working as a fellow in the Knowledge Management Division of TERI. In the today's topic, we are going to take up these particular components which are called as big data and analytics, powerful data visualizations, understanding the different types of visualizations, understanding the design considerations into it, how the design plays a very effective role in data visualizations, and the several best practices also we will try to look into. Now, let me start with one of the very basic thing is, see, we all of us have read about this particular continuum. It is called as information continuum. It starts with data, then information, then your knowledge, and then your insight, and then the wisdom. Now, when we talk about the data, it is divided into two major components. One is called as quantitative data, another is called as qualitative data. Now, when I am talking about quantitative data, it is basically measurable, the collected through measuring things that have a fixed reality or closed ended ones, and we are very familiarized with the quantitative data, because quantitative data stands with lot of numericals which you find in your Excel sheet or normal data which you are collecting and all, whereas qualitative data, it is much more descriptive, collected through different kinds of observations from the field work, focus, interviews, and mostly you find that all the different kinds of researchers are basically collecting the data, and it is always open ended also. Now, today the most important component, and which is basically the clarion call in today's globally, which is called as big data. Now, there is a two terminologies are here, one is a big, another is a data. We need to understand this thing. Data that is too large or too complex to be managed using the traditional data processing, analysis and storage techniques, that is basically called as a big data. Now, let us try to look into more detail into that. Big data is a collection of large databases that cannot be adequately processed using traditional processing techniques. Big data is not only data, it has become a complete subject now, which involves various tools, techniques, frameworks, methodologies need to be studied a lot. Big data terms describes the volume amount of data, both structured and unstructured ones, and it is used very much into in our day-to-day context and all, and how it is used we will see in the subsequent slides about that. And the big data helps to analyze the in-depth concepts of better decision making process or some of the strategic decisions which are to be taken in the industry, on the organizations or in the corporate sectors. So, you need to have those big data in your hand on a particular, in fact, entire strategy document can be prepared based on the big data, that is data which is collected on that. Now, this entire thing was the evolution of big data we will look into. Actually, the person is called Doug Laney. In 2000, he basically, when in the industry, he started talking about the big data, and where he talked about three major components at that time. One is the volume, because the volume of the data which is coming from large amount of sources, which from machine to machine learning data, the storage of the data, the different data which is coming from the business transactions, social media, from different kind of sensors which are used in different kinds of machines, that was from where the data is coming. So, he was talking more about the voluminous aspect of the data. The another is the velocity. See, over the years from 2000 onwards, you will see that there is a geometric increase of data has taken place. This data sometimes it is not manageable by any small system or by any particular individual who is working on it, because the data is coming from variety of sources, different kinds of RFID tags, the sensors, the smart metering, they are providing a lot. It's called torrents of data. Please understand the word torrents. It means like like for example torrential wave. Torrential wave in the sense is basically a terminology taken from in ocean. When there is a torrential wave, it's coming in volumes and the velocity, and because it is very speedy, because if you don't catch up with that, then you have lost the the bus. So that's thing. And the variety of the data. Now, the data which is coming, it is numeric, structured, or it is coming from the traditional database. So, we need to understand these are the data which are coming in this ways. It is coming from various sources and all. So, later on in today's context, there is this entire thing was divided into 5 V's. 5 V's means volume, that is the scale of the data. When we talk about velocity of the data, it is analysis of the streaming of the data. When we are talking about variety, it is the different forms of the data. When we are talking about the value of the data, and the veracity, that is the uncertainty of the data. And we are going to talk on each of these 5 components which I have talked about here. Now, let us start with the volume of the data. In today's context, you can see in this picture itself, it was showing, it is saying a data by 2020, it means by next year, you are going to have almost 40 zettabytes of data, means 43 trillion gigabytes. I mean, see the voluminous amount of data which is coming up. That is why we are calling it as torrential amount of data. The data which is of 2.5 quintillion bytes, that is such a big amount, means 2.3 trillion gigabytes of data. 6 billion people have the cell phones today, and these 6 billion people are using the mobile and they are generating the data. And there are most companies in the United States, at least 100 terabytes of data, they are either using it or producing it or consuming it. So, there is a huge amount volume of scale of data. If you see the entire unit, we all started when the birth of the computer has taken place, it was nothing but 0 and 1. When today, if you look at this particular figure, it will show you, I was talking about the 2020 zettabyte of data. We are not very far off when we will be crossing 1000 to the power 8 bytes, that is basically called as yottabyte of data. So, this C1 and how many zeros are there, very difficult for me to right now count on in this. So, the kind of scale of data which is torrential data which is coming up day by day. So, 90% of today's data has been created in the last 2 years. So, that is what the clarion call is. Every day we create around 2.5 quintillion bytes of data, or enough to fill the 10 million Blu-ray disc, high tech, and I have got a lot of storage capacity and all, but 40 zettabytes of data will be created by 2020, and increase 300 times from 2005 onwards it has taken place. And the most companies in the United States, over 100 terabytes of data is stored. So, see the volume of data which is coming up. Next thing is velocity. Now, if you see the definition of velocity, it is basically related to the speed with respect to time. Now, here velocity is the streaming of the data. Several people, today's context, when we are talking about big data, people are using sensors. There are several sensors which are used, which are generating a huge amount of data from different aspects. So, that is a very, very important component in today's concepts. And velocity of analysis of streaming of data, you can see the kind of the picture I have shown, the mobile transactions which you do, the credit card transaction which you do, or the traffic which you are moving, or the satellite data or GIS data which is there, or the mobile applications data, the video data, everything is producing the data, and there is a continuous flow of stream of data is taking place. That is what is taking important for us. And then the variety, the different forms of data. Data, when there was a time when we used to talk about data, it is only nothing but a numerical figure. No, we have both structured and unstructured data. Think about all the social media data which is generated day by day. How much amount of data is getting generated from your Facebook, Twitter, your LinkedIn, and YouTube's, how many amount of data which is getting, variety of data is coming, and each one of them is having a different formats. So, the amount of data which is generating, it is huge. Then these are some of the social media applications which are there, which are huge amount of data which are there in it. Then another important component is veracity of data, that is uncertainty of data. If you see this particular slide, it will show you that there are some of the data is very, very important for decision making process, but there are certain data which may or may not be useful. Some of the data are biased, poor data. There are data which cannot help you in certain strategic formulation. It would be very different. I mean, the reliability of the data, the validity of the data, it would be a very big challenge for also in this context. So, veracity means when we talk about the origin, the authenticity, the trustworthiness, the completeness and the integrity and all. Now, we will have categorization of big data. Now, one of the major category is your black box data. Now, black box data is basically, you must have heard the word called black box. It is there how the conversation takes place between the crew member who is there in the flight and the person in the technical grounds, and they give you, the person sends you all kind of data, and the conversation takes place during when the flight is taking place from one origin to another origin, another destination it is reaching. So, the entire movement data gets collected, the discussions between the crew, and it shows the path where, when to land, what to land and all. So, basically this is a very important data as far as the infrastructure logistics is extensively used and all. Like for example, I will take an example here how this data is used for by the different airlines, that what is the different flights which are taking landing on the particular the airport. So, which are the flight should be given priority, which are the flight should be it can have a different timings and all. They also look into some of the the cluster formation, how the movement of the flight is taking place, what is the zone he is passing through. So, these are some of the data which are basically captured in the black box data and all. Then the social media data, the social networking sites which produces the data. Another important is your stock exchange, the buyer-seller relationship, the buyer-seller decision making, the buyer-sellers different companies and the customers and all, the discussions which takes place when there is ups and downs of the stock market which is taking place. It is basically on the financial transactions takes place, where the financial institutions are involved in it. So, it is a large amount of stock exchange or a financial data which people look into it. The another section is your power grid data. This is a very important, wherein different power stations, different kind of IoTs, Internet of Things or sensors are applied which derives the data. Like for example, if you want to see a particular zonal wise or a cluster wise, what is exactly the power consumption pattern and all, where I should provide certain amount of power distribution. I mean the entire power distribution mechanisms can be easily controlled when you have the power grid data available with you, and you can also look into it. Transport data, it is an extremely important. In fact, Terry is involved in these kinds of research a lot. I myself is also involved in this kind of research, where we are looking into, like for example, what is the load capacity. Suppose you have a food bridge. Now, what is the load capacity of that food bridge from where the the transport is taking place, how much heavy vehicles you required for that, what is that heavy vehicles you need for that. So, how many trucks are passing maybe per minute, or maybe there are some of the, like for example, they are transferring people, I mean the vehicles are movement from one state to another. So, they pass through the different the check gates. So, which are the types of vehicles? You have LMV or HMV or big vehicles, or even when we are talking about transport data, we also look into the airline transport, the HSR, that high speed rails, the metros, the cycles, e-rickshaws. These kind of data are also collected, and we generally work on this particular thing. And another is search engine data. The based on the kind of searches which are made, the different kinds of data are collected from that too. Now, importance of big data, it helps to find out the root cause of failures. That is some of the issues or the defects in real time operations. It also helps in like for example, when we during these festivals and all, like for example, currently you will find that a lot of schemes are provided by different, like for example, Flipkart, Amazons, they are providing. Now, what kind of collect a huge amount of data from there, which we basically, their transaction which takes place, their likes and the dislikes that takes place, the review they put forward, which is basically a part of the sentiment analytics from where the data is get collected. So, based on that, they give away the different coupons, the schemes and all, so that more and more customers get. So, business transaction takes place. entire the risk portfolios. In fact, in the risk management, lot of this kind of data is there. And then this, if there is any kind of fraudulent, because when they talk about a risk, there is if there any fraudulent matter taking place, so there also you can talk about this kind of a big data. Now, the big data technology which is used in banking sector, by the government, education, healthcare sector, manufacturing, retail, all these sectors are very, very important for you. Now, how exactly they are utilizing this big data? So, basically these are the fundamental questions. What customers want? What are the products are rapidly fast moving? What are the expectations of the end users from the customer service? How to speed up the time sequence for marketing? I mean, you see the entire digital marketing and all, which is revolutionized in this entire world. I mean, entire thing, how speedily you can reach out to the people with different kinds of schemes and all. So, you can do a lot of based on this big data. Methods of, what are the methods of cost reductions? Basically, how when you do a lot of power grid data or maybe the logistics data you are collecting, automatically that based on that data, a lot of decisions are taken where to reduce the cost. Like we do a lot of reducing the carbon footprints and all, that is a very important area. Methods to build the economies of scale in a very highly efficient manner and all. Some of the big data technologies when we are basically is required, basically lot of accurate analysis is required when you use a big data. Basically it optimizes, basically it optimizes the efficiencies, enable the cost reductions and reduce the risk for business operations. It also, because you get a both unstructured and structured data in a real time basis and all. So, what is the most important component is, I should emphasize here, is data privacy and data security of the customers, of the individuals. And the another thing is that the different vendors which are very big giants in the globally, like Amazon, IBM, Microsoft and etc., they also have come up with different kinds of tools, technologies and platforms where these kinds of big data are extensively used for different kinds of business purposes and all. So, this is, you can say, from a, if I take a PubMed data, you can see the how there is an increase in the in the PubMed, the kind of the big data research papers are increasing day by day in the PubMeds and all. Now, if I want to bring it a relationship between the big data and the librarians, what role librarians play in the big data revolutions? Do you see any yourself playing a part into it? How will you prepare yourself and what resources you will use? So, you can see one of the global vice president of Gartner says that data is the oil currently. So, one of the important thing is, in current context, you need to understand what kind of, from which are the data sources you will pull out the data which will help you out in your decision making process in your own library management systems and all. There are two major categories: operational data and analytical big data. Now, when I am talking about the operational data, there is a one particular database is called MongoDB. Now, which provides the operational capabilities for interactive and real time workloads where data is generally captured and stored. And the another is NoSQL, where basically big data systems are designed in such a way that it capitalizes the cloud and computing the architectures to permit access in massive computational reasonability and efficiently. Whereas, when you talk about the analytical part, which is the most important part for the decision making process, the major component is there is a platform called MapReduce, which will provide the analytical capabilities in the collective and complex analysis. And MapReduce also helps to provide the new method for analyzing the data flaunts and data that flaunts is capability provided by SQL. So, MapReduce that can scale up from from the single server to the thousands of high and low end machines also. So, MapReduce is a very interesting platform as far as the analytical big data concerned. There are certain barriers, we need to understand those barriers. One is the capturing the data, storage capacity of the data, searching the data, sharing the data, transferring the data, analysis of the data and the presentation of the data. Now, I will come down to another component of that, that is the big data and the analytics. So, these two word terminologies are very, very interrelationship they have on big data and analytics part of it. Now, what does a big data come from? So, we have seen that it can come from n number of sources: email, transactions, monitoring, sensor, industry, credit, weather. Anywhere the data can come, and it can be divided into these 5 sections, major section from where the data is coming. But the types of data which we are going to have here is basically velocity of the data, the variety of the data and the volume of data. But when you look at in a percentage wise, this was a study done by the Gartner in their webinar in May 2012, where they say 16% is the velocity of the data, whereas 35% is the volume variety of data. But the major concern is the variety of data which is there. So, volume of the data is only 35%, but the variety of data is 48%. So, when I am talking about this, the biggest opportunity for big data in your organization is 85% of Fortune 500 company organization will be unable to exploit the big data for competitive advantage. It is not so easy. Business analytics needs will drive 70% of the investments in the expansion and modernization of information infrastructures. So, this was a Gartner, they have very clearly says, because in the process automation part it is only 12%, where the decision making percent is only 43%, and the insight discovery, because when you come out with the insight, that is where the data analytics come into the picture, it is only 45% is there. Business analytics, where yes, there is, which is also compared to with the business intelligence part of it, which is called as BI, where in broad category it is application, technology and process based, like gathering, storing, accessing and analyzing the data, and it helps the better users for making the better decisions and all. We need to understand, because in the current context the things are getting very complex, it is not so easy. So, many companies are performing new kinds of analytics which is called as sentiment analysis, to better and make the quick understanding. Like I have talked about, like for example, when you buy, let me give you an example, like for example, you are buying a product, a review, want to buy an online product from an Amazon, you have got an account on with that. Now, if you want to buy, say for example, a book you want to buy, before buying it, what is exactly is happening, you are going through the entire review process, what people have given reviews about that particular product or that particular, the pen or book or whatever you are buying. So, based on that particular reviews, you take your own decisions, and that is what is playing a very, very important role. Now, there is, I mean, if you look at the library context, we always want to show the positive part of it. We always try to, very reluctant to show the negative part of it. But in this kind of sentiment analytics, because you are dealing with the sentiments of your users, your customers. So, in that context, what happens, even if somebody is writing very negative about a particular product, they pick up the important words from there, and based on that they run the analytics of that and bring out the insights that how this is going to be helpful in the better decision making process in the next future or maybe in the next strategy thing. It helps in the improvisation of the service or the improvisation of the product. That is a very, very important component of it. So, in the analytical model, so there is 4 kinds of analytics are there. What happened, I mean, it is a graph which you can see between different difficulty and the value. So, more you go to the steep, it is much more difficult for that. What happens, that is a descriptive analytics. Why did it happen? So, that is called diagnostic analytics. What will happen, that is a predictive analytics, and how can we make it happen, that is called prescriptive analytics, like prescriptive, submitting a prescription just like a doctor does it. So, this is a descriptive analytics where basically you have such as reporting on OLAP or a dashboard and a data visualization. Data visualization I am going to take up in subsequent slides in great detail. So, basically it shows in, I mean, let's say for example, as a librarian, it can give you in your dashboard the complete description of what is happening and what is not. It gives you that. So, it interprets the output from your, it is very helping the users interpret the output from predictive and the prescriptive analytics. So, this is a very, very important thing on this. Predictive analytics is more on algorithm base, where basically you develop a regression analysis, or you can have the machine learning programming or neural networks and all, and it has also been around for quite some time. And like for example, in the marketing is the target for many predictive analytics applications, where descriptive analytics such as data visualization is very important in helping users to interpret the output from predictive and prescriptive analytics. So, this is very, very important as far as the predictive analytics is concerned. So, you predict on what is going to happen based on the regression analysis or statistical methods or tools which you apply for that. Prescriptive analytics is that's which are referred as advanced analytics, often for the allocation of scarce resources and also optimization or optimal utilization of the resources. So basically, for example, the government can take a lot of decisions which are based on and come for some certain solutions, where they can look into the economic data, they can look into the population, they can look into the demography, they can look into the trend, they look into health trends and all. So all these components it helps the decision makers, the policy makers to come up with a better understanding of the situation, and then they are sending out, they are giving out the solutions to the society. So this is a very important component as far as prescriptive analytics is concerned. Now I come to the very important component that is called as data visualization. Now I'll start with a brief history of the data visualization, how the data visualization is not a new concept, it is an old concept, but with the advent of different technologies, tools and all, and with the development of this big data and the big data analytics and all, it has completely revolutionized the entire, the research or the corporate decision making process and all. Let me take an example in 1812. This is I have taken it from the, Tofte. There was a paper by the Tofte in 2009, in page 41 you will find that there was a person called Charles Joseph Minard. He has shown that how Napoleon Bonaparte is a great leader. In 1812, he marched past with his army from one place to another, and this entire journey and what are the places he has covered and what are the places he stepped down and he had his, captive audiences or the army or he was sitting there, he is camping on that. Entire process, his movement was shown with the help of this particular diagram. It was a very popular diagram. I will ask everybody to go through the report by the Tufte. Then there is another thing, I am sure you know this lady, Florence Nightingale. She is very famous lady for her nursing. She has came out with a particular component called, a particular theory called Coxcombs in 1858, where she talked about hospital sanitation. She is a pioneer in hospital sanitation. Meticulously she gathered the data from everywhere, and those statistics and visualization were shown in a completely different way. This is the graph which shows that the different kinds of, because of the non-sanitation, how the mortality rate in the army in the east is taking place. It was showing depicting in the picture and all, and it was so meticulously done by her that it is one of the major component in today's context. I would say it's a very powerful data visualization. And the same thing you can see if I put different colors into that, it shows the different, and in which particular month you can see that what is the death rate was high and all in those cases where it was more affected, and the entire descriptions and all. It was done by the Florence Nightingale's Coxcombs method. Another component is 1914. So when I am talking about data visualization, it started such a long back from 1800 it was started, and now it is still continuing. The first book by Willard Brinton, where first business book on visualization came out, where he talked about there are certain rules for presenting the data, how the Americans consulting engineers they are showing it, and this is how they have depicted in the entire flowchart diagram was shown, that how the different, you see the kind of organogram was prepared at that time, and this particular flowchart diagram completely shows the entire process which was involved into it, especially with respect to the disposable income in the family and all, how many of the cows and all. See the pictorial depictions which was very clearly shown in Willard Brinton's 1914 model in that. Another person is Mary Eleanor in Spear, 1952 and 1969. she came out with this particular book called Practical Charting Techniques. See, common sense required for creating a chart or depicting your data into the chart. There you need certain common sense, certain thought processes required, she talked about. She invented a box plot system and worked for the various US governments and all. And this is where she has shown her picture, what is the maximum length, how much is the third quartile, how much is the first quartile, and this box, and this scalable diagram with the help of this box was shown very clearly into that particular thing. This was done by Mary Eleanor Spear. 1967, Jacques Bertin, the principle of expressiveness, he came out. Say everything you want to say, no more, no less. But don't mislead the people with your data and everything. And he also talked about in his book called Principle of Effectiveness, use the best method available for showing your data. And he was basically a cartographer. And this is a book on semiology of graphics where he has used 7 visual variables here like position, the size, the shape, the color, the brightness, the orientation and the texture. All these 7 visual variables are extremely important in today's context also when you do a data visualization in today. Jacques Bertin has shown, these are some of the examples of the Jacques Bertin, what he shows, the different kinds of positioning and all. And this is the book which I was talking about, Edward Tufte in 2002, it was in 1983. He came out with another book because this person has really revolutionized in the field of data visualization, Discipline the Design Principle and Minimalistic Approach, and he was a professor emeritus at the Yale University, and he came out with this book, The Visual Display of Quantitative Information, and this book is the book on data visualization in that particular context. Another very important book came out by Jock McKinley in 1986 on information visualization with context to corporate sectors and all. Automatically encode the data with software, enable people to focus on ideas, concepts and all, and then add 8th variable to Bertin's list, what Jacques Bertin had talked about. Another thing is motion. And VP of research, he was a vice president of research and design. He is said to be one of the backbone of the famous Tableau software, is Jock McKinley in 1986. So, what is most when a chart hits you? So, you come across a huge number of charts, pictures, diagrams, visualization is there, but there is something which always attracts your eye. What is that? When a chart hits your eyes, visuals are not read in a predictable linear way. Create charts spatially from the visual onwards, and you can see that these are the different kinds of color combinations along with the other color combination, because we want to highlight the most pragmatic ones. So, it has to be very eye catchy. Then visuals are not read in a linear way. It is never read in a linear way. Create charts spatially from the visual outward. We see first what stands out, and whatever stands out should support the idea also. That is another area also. So, see the same chart, we see visuals once, plot as visual elements as possible. See the kind of the graphical measures, this is from the energy sectors and all. So, you can see how the movement, I mean these kind of graphs are visuals are very much used in different kinds of financial transaction, in the gold transactions, even in different energy power grid data which we had talked about. In some of those areas, this kind of sensor data are also depicted in this way. We seek meaning and make connections with the data, relate visual elements in a meaningful way, and then we rely on the conventions and the metaphors, embrace deeply imagined conventions. So, you can see this is a data visualization was done on the USA energy resources, and you can see how the depiction of the resources which has talked about each and every color in this particular US graph, it depicts one particular component. So, for any researcher or for any decision maker, this is very easily able to understand the entire concept into it. Like for example, this is another chart where if I want to see the kind of correlationship or the existence between from the different classifications of the animals and how they are connected to each other, it can easily be depicted like this, and who is sensing the data to another. For a biologist, this is a very important data definition. Even in the biotechnology, this kind of data are used extensively. So, vast data visualization, these are some of the charts I am showing, which is showing exclusive data visualization. These are done on different kinds of platforms like your Tableau and all. So, data visualization is the act of taking information of the data, visualization making the big and data very easier for the human brain to understand. Visualization also makes it easier to see the direct patterns, the trends and the outliers in the group of the data. So, it gives you a complete overview of what you are trying to depict in that data. That is very important thing. Is data part of the data science? Now, these are data science and data visualizations are not two different parts. In fact, they are intertwined with each other. They are related to each other. If you are not able to understand the process and the concepts and the data, what is exactly the data or the data science, then you won't be able to move forward in the data visualization process. So, you need to, there is a separate study on these areas also. Now, there are some of the tools which are very powerful in 2019, out of which I would rather say, because I have used all three of them which are in yellow mark here, that is Tableau, Microsoft Power BI and the ClickView. These are very popular, and let me tell you friends that some of these software, their demo version is free, and these are not rocket science. Take some data from your library, put it on your system, play around with it, and I am sure you are going to come up with some of the best data visualization you can show to your competent authorities on it. You can really experiment with some of these things. Data discovery is the process of breaking the complex data into different, different clusters, which is understandable. It depends on the different data sets, the relationships, and you remove the chaos part of it, and then you get the, you break the data into small components to represent it much more better way. Now, data tools I have already talked about, like charts, graphs, maps, some of the things which are very common nowadays, but there are certain other pictorial dimensions are also there in the data which you can represent here also. Is Excel a data visualization tool? Yes, well, Excel is a spreadsheet tool, whereas Tableau is a data visualization tool. So, what you need to do, if you have an entire data on Excel, you can get it exported to Tableau software in your system, and that can help you to develop the data visualization framework. And then the data points, now data points are basically the certain formulas which you use for your regression analysis, or maybe standard deviation or skewness or kurtosis you are using. So, there are certain data which you do a mathematical applications, and that also you can do it and get the corrected data, use it for using the Tableau software. But please remember, you have to do the calculations and everything in your Excel sheet or spreadsheet, and then you transfer that data, the processed data, the massaged data, not the raw data, the massaged data into data visualization, and you can get very good pictorial dimension of that also. So, use it wisely in your data visualization design. Use a single color to represent the same type of data. Watch out for positive and the negative numbers. Make sure that there is a sufficient contrast between the colors and avoid the patterns. Select the colors appropriately because it has to be catchy, and don't use more than 6 colors in a single layout. These are some of the directions I thought. So, what kind of visual communication do you want to create? Is my information conceptions or the data driven, whether it is conceptual or it has to be data driven? How do you want to show it? How do you want to depict the data to the people? So, that you need to understand. So, are my visuals meant to be declarative or exploratory? And so, if you have a 4-quadrant model, so in the 4-quadrant you will see that there is a idea illustrations, then you have the idea generation, then you have everyday the data business which are there, and then the visual discovery. So, there is a 4 typical types of data visualization component is there. So, provide a clear understanding of the patterns of in data, detect the hidden structures in the data and condense the information which are there. What makes a good chart? So, you have a chart and you want to show the entire process using different kinds of visualization which is shown here, and it is attracts the people for the decision makers to move forward into that. These are some of the examples you can see of the soft drinks, the cluster formation shown with the different colors and all what I talked about just now. So, your data should be able to, these are basic principles that are from the Tufte. Your chart should tell a story. The chart should have a graphical integrity and the chart should be minimize graphical complexity. These are some fundamental principles which Tufte has talked about in 2009. So, principle 1 is graphics should be clear on their own. The depiction should be enable meaningful comparison, should be yield insight beyond the text, and if the statistics are boring, then you got the wrong numbers. So, please remember the calculation has to be very accurate and all. Principle 2, the chart should have a graphical integrity. Basically, it should not lie. In fact, Tufte has come out with something called as a lie factor. This is an equation, the size of the effect shown in the graphic divided by the size of the effect in data. So, you can do a calculations, you can do a minimization, exaggeration and under effect, you can calculation if it is less or equal to 1. So, these are some of the examples of lie factor which he has shown in his book, like which shows, which does not, some of the things which he has shown is, based on the pictorial, it can have a wrong imaginations up to the people for the decision making process and all. Principle 3, the chart should be minimized, graphically complex, graphical complexity. Key concept is sometimes a table could be better, a data link could be better, or a chart junk. So, these are the things. When a table is better than a chart, for a few data points a table can do just as well. So, think about it before you jump into some kind of a conclusion, you need to understand that. The ultimate table, the box score, large amount of information in a very small space, if you want to show, it will not give you any impact on that. So, it is a very important thing. Depends on the reader's knowledge of the data. Then the data ink, then the be conscious of the data ink, the color, the kind, see you can see how there is a graph which is shown, the hypotheticity of the city crime, but you see the entire shading which was done onto that. So, we have to be very conscious about all these things. What makes a good chart? Sometimes it is a matter of preference. These both minimize the data ink. Why isn't a table better here? We could have done a better thing, why it is not? So, you can think of that how it could be made much more better on that particular. 3D charts, evaluate this from a data ink perspective. How does it affect the clarity of the chart? The total sales by the salespersons. You can see the kind of the 3D charts which were made. So, one of the golden rules of data visualization, never use a 3D model if it is not required. Data integrity, lie factor you also look into, and graphical complexity in respect to. So, please be careful when you are using a 3D model, where bare minimum 3D model should be used, and even if you want to use it, try to look into it as much as possible. Chart junk, unnecessary visual clutter, please do not do it. Distraction from the story, please do not do it, and data ink ratio is low. So, that is a very important thing. And then there is something called as a Moir's effect, which creates the illusion of the movements and stands out in a very bad way. So, you need to think about it's called this. And then something called as greed. So, these are some of the examples here. I am asking you to look into it. What are these examples of the chart junks here? Why it is called as a chart junk? So, you need to see some of these examples how it is data ink working for us. So, basically different color combinations which are used, which shows the different kinds of how the representations of these soft drinks of that, it is shown here. So, the review is the chart should tell a story, the chart should have a graphical integrity, the chart should minimize graphical complexity, preferably use some infographics, and nowadays infographics is playing a very big role. Visualization of the informations, data, knowledge, insights can be easily depicted in a one infographic, a table like this, and it can easily represent lot of things in one small figure. This is just a small infographic. I have taken e-books, the different kinds of utilization of e-books and all. So, in the summary, what I want to comprehend is use data visualization principles to assess a visualization. Try to tie your data should about to tell a story. Graphical integrity is an important thing. Minimize graphical complexity. Explain how a visualization can be improved based on those principles and the types of visualization that are there. So, in my presentations, I have used a lot of resources and references. I would urge each of you, one of you, to please go through them and get into the details of all of this. So, thank you very much for your patience listening.